My theory on house music and where it came from, you know, I can tell you just from being a Brooklyn, New York, born and raised DJ, many people have different stories, but I think that as disco itself developed, I always felt that the real roots of disco was coming from Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Orchestra, which is also known as MFSB, stands for Mother, Father, Sister, Brother. And then they have their record label, TSOP, The Sound of Philadelphia. You could go back as far back as the famous TV show here in America called Soul Train. And a lot of the music they did had that open ride that gives this track energy in between, you know, the 2 and the 4, and that's a staple in house music. I know for a fact that in Chicago, where they had the Warehouse nightclub and Frankie Knuckles was reigning supremely, that was Chicago's version of what we had here with Paradise Garage and Larry Levan. They were very similar to what they were pioneering. But because it was called Warehouse, the kids there would call it house music, just like we would call it garage.
Ik heb een keer een interview gedaan voor de Nederlandse nationale televisie. Het was een documentaire over house, ging dat. Volgens mij ergens echt begin jaar 91 of zo. En daar werd me toen gevraagd van, ja, beschrijf nou eens eigenlijk waar die muziek vandaan komt.
Amerika is het, ja. Ja, Detroit, Chicago, New York. Dat zijn er zeker de 3 steden waar de house sound vandaan komt.
The early house music movement that came to the UK was definitely more in the north of the country, like Manchester. There was a club there called the Hacienda, and they used to invite a lot of people from Chicago, like Farley Jetmaster Funk.
One of the things I immediately noticed was when songs like, one of the bigger ones that came out was probably Farley, Jack Your Body. The bass line was 100% from Let No Man Put Us Under, which was a disco record, which had all the house influences of today. And so basically I think what made it house more than disco was that it was raw. They eliminated a lot of the strings and the pianos and the orchestration, and the art of sampling was really, you know, in your face with the jack, jack, jack your body, jack your body, jack your body. Disco records weren't doing that.
I mean, the whole New York thing has always intrigued me, right back from the days of the Paradise Garage. You know, I think it's important to know the roots of the music you're into. You know, it gives you credence, and you really feel, and I feel part of it if you understand the legacy and the history of it. And that whole thing has intrigued me, how it's evolved, as I say, from disco right the way through to kind of that whole soulful house scene to where it is now. You know, and key players like Danny Tenaglia and all those guys who have been there since day dot and who have managed to stay relevant right through till now. You know, it is an incredible thing. And that whole New York scene fascinates me, and I spend a lot of my time in hotel rooms and in airport waiting lounges, googling and researching stuff on it. You know, it's fascinating. So why did the scene fade from here? And that's the question that baffles me, because you know it was leading the way for so long, and the whole of Europe looked for influence from the US, but the scene really shifted and changed in direction, and there was a point in time where it became less organic and more electronic, and a lot of these producers, as love them as much as I do, couldn't make that adaptation, couldn't make that change, you know, and things moved back, the electronic sound moved back towards and shifted towards Europe.
Je zag het echt van begin, ik zeg maar bijvoorbeeld de Roxy in Amsterdam, daar werd nog gewoon James Brown gedraaid, want als er een paar plaatjes house en acid gedraaid werden, ging het publiek en het personeel klagen. Die vonden het gewoon vreselijk. Maar een maand, 2 maanden later, dus na die Summer of Love, om het zo maar te zeggen, in 1988, stonden er gewoon dikke rijen voor de deur bij de Roxy. En dan, ja, je kwam er gewoon niet meer in. Dus dat is echt, dan hebben we het over een periode van een zomervakantie.
In '88, the big Summer of Love came from Ibiza to England, and it was just a big change from top 40 music, big commercial music into house music. And it changed whole Amsterdam, and it was the beginning, I think, of the whole house era. We started IDT as a New Year's event with 300 people. We really loved organizing the party. At that point, I had a small courier company with 2 people, so I was a bit of a small entrepreneur. And we wanted to do a second party. And the second party we were looking for a venue for 2,000 people, or just a small venue, but we couldn't find a small venue. So we took a bigger venue, we just put a cloth, we thought. But then the ticket sales started, and then we just went from 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and we ended up at 11,000.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
Yeah, when you have all these memories and collecting, it was funny, but there was no ticket sales, so you had to collect your money, count the money in, and then see all these 11,000 people, and then, whoa, this should be our business, this should be our work.
Ja, van onze kant laten wij dus zien dat we toch alles aan proberen om het redelijk te krijgen.
The hardcore music became very big, and the whole gabber scene became very big. And about 10 years later, we were a bit fed up with that music and with the whole scene, and we did our first different events. So we really changed our vision and changed the first sensation was about 11 years ago. Why Theme came 1 year later, because after the first edition we organized, my brother crashed with his car, and he was only 25. And just before that, 3 weeks before, we had a family funeral in Ireland. My mom is Irish, and they really celebrate nearly with a beer and have a laugh at a funeral. And we said to each other, whoa, this is different. And then he said, well, if I die, I would like to have something like this. So, boom, 4 weeks later, this happened. And the first thing which popped up in my mind and our minds with the friends was, let's celebrate it. The year later, because my brother was the creative director of the whole event, we said, be part of the night, dress in white as a small tribute. And we only had flyers at that point. The internet was just starting, so it was very... Just one sentence, be part of the night, dress in white, and then nearly 40–50% turned up in white. And the second year, 99% turned up in white, and we went, wow. Sensation White was born. It's really great to, after 25 years, to come to the United States at the point where the United States is starting to take off. And for us to start taking off with our best event we have, our most developed event, at this time, I don't think it's a coincidence that we're here now at this point.
Left Bravo, right Juliet for 3-1, left American.
House music originated from here, you know, it all started here, and then it got to Europe where it really blew up. But here was always kind of, it stayed a kind of niche thing, but now finally, especially now in the last 3 years, you know, I think, you know, pop music embraced it, and I think the whole country embraced it now.
Obviously, the festival culture sort of only works if there's a seed to feed it. You know, you have to have a club culture to feed that size of event. And if you haven't got that working, then those bigger scale events aren't working. But now, I mean, the club scene here is just phenomenal. There's nowhere else in the world you can go and play on a Tuesday night. You've got to be David Guetta to get people even thinking about going out in London on Tuesday night. Where here, you can play anywhere on Tuesday night and it'll work.
You know, I remember just when I just started playing here, I had parties where people would still come up to me and like ask me if I could play some R&B or some hip hop, you know. So and that's really gone. And I think everything, you know, has evolved quite fast. I mean, the parties are bigger, and I think especially the amount of people that's interested in dance music, or EDM as they say here, has grown.
American culture isn't so, how do I say this? They're not that familiar with the festival kind of events that European countries, especially the Netherlands, are pros at.
I think mainstream finally accepted, you know, dance music not as a obscure ravey thing with crazy kids, but as a serious music genre. You know, I think that has been the most important thing, and that actually pop artists embraced it.
I mean, I come to America fairly often. You know, I think as every touring DJ wants to nowadays, because of just, as I said earlier, the enthusiasm and the vibe of the place, you know. It's amazing. It's like rolling back the clock 15 years in Europe. I mean, doing the Sensation event is stuff that, you know, you'll talk about to your grandchildren. You know, it's the chance to become a rock star. I mean, at all levels, it's amazing. The production is just second to none. And I think the whole world looks at IDT and Sensation on how they do these events, and I'd happily play every single weekend.
Oh, you feel with New York that the eyes of the whole world are on you. I mean, Amsterdam is always our premiere of the new stuff, but this feels as a second premiere.
This is going to be, you know, maybe one of the more special sensations that we're going to do. So yeah, I can't wait.
Sensation is going to bring a whole different appeal. Like, it's not just ear candy, it's going to be a lot of eye candy. And me, personally, having gone to some of the best New York clubs that they used to have stages and backdrops, and they really were giving you Broadway on some of these clubs, I look forward to that.
For me, it's like, I sort of really prepare a lot for this set, you know, finding like my special records that I've played over the years, editing them, making everything just for Sensation.
For me, it's kind of personal. You know, I've been busting my ass for a long time, and to see something like this is cool, you know, and for it to be in my own hometown, and where I struggled, where I ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, you know, to make ends meet, for me to now to be a part of this is like, wow, it's like full circle, it's like a dream. You know, some people say, yeah, it's just one event, so what? But it's not. For me, it's not. for me, it's saying, yo, you know what? Like, you're almost there. You know, you almost made it.
You are the one I could die for. Cut all ties.